Could you face your biggest fear for treasure beyond imagination? What if a simple map held the secret to a lost civilization's greatest treasure? Let's find out. Crimson Isle and the Lost Civilization. Part 1. Leo had always been fascinated by his grandfather's tales of lost treasure and forgotten islands. As a child, he would sit by the fire, listening wide-eyed as his grandfather spoke of Crimson Isle. "It's a dangerous place," his grandfather would say, his voice filled with mystery. "But for those brave enough to find it, it holds the greatest treasure anyone could dream of." When Leo turned 20, his grandfather gave him an old tattered map. "This is the map to Crimson Isle," his grandfather had whispered with a serious look in his eyes. "You are the only one in our family brave enough to seek the treasure. But remember, it's not just about gold. There are secrets on that island, secrets that could change everything." Leo had always been adventurous, but nothing had ever excited him more than the thought of finding the treasure his grandfather spoke about. So, with a small boat and a heart full of courage, Leo set sail toward Crimson Isle. It was a long and dangerous journey, with days of sailing through rough seas and navigating through storms. But nothing could stop him. Leo was determined to uncover the mystery. The journey felt endless, but finally, as the sun began to rise one morning, Leo spotted a distant shape on the horizon. It was the island. As Leo approached Crimson Isle, his excitement grew. The island was covered in a thick green jungle, and the sound of waves crashing against the rocks filled the air. The moment Leo set foot on the island, he felt a strange sensation. The air was thick and heavy, as if the island itself was alive. With the map in hand, Leo began his trek into the jungle. The path was overgrown, and every step felt like a challenge. The thick canopy above blocked most of the sunlight, casting eerie shadows across the ground. The sounds of unknown creatures echoed through the trees, making Leo feel as though he was being watched. After walking for hours, Leo finally reached a clearing. In the center of the clearing stood an ancient stone statue. It was weathered and covered in moss, but there was something unsettling about it. The statue depicted a warrior holding a sword in one hand and a shield in the other. Its eyes seemed to follow Leo as he walked around it. According to the map, Leo was on the right path. He looked around the clearing and noticed that the trees had strange symbols carved into their bark. The symbols were unlike anything Leo had ever seen, but they seemed to be pointing in a specific direction. Following the symbols, Leo continued deeper into the jungle. As the day wore on, the jungle grew darker and more menacing. The air became colder, and Leo felt an increasing sense of unease. Finally, he reached the entrance to the cave. It was just as his grandfather had described, a large, dark opening in the side of a mountain, hidden by thick vines and foliage. Leo paused for a moment, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew that this was the final step. The treasure was inside the cave, but so were the dangers his grandfather had warned him about. Taking a deep breath, Leo pushed aside the vines and stepped inside. The cave was cold and damp, and the only sound was the steady drip of water from the ceiling. Leo lit a torch and held it up, revealing the narrow, winding path ahead. As he ventured deeper into the cave, the air grew colder, and the darkness seemed to press in around him. Suddenly, Leo heard a sound that made his blood run cold. It was a low, rumbling growl echoing through the cave. He stopped in his tracks, his heart racing. The growl grew louder, and Leo realized that he was not alone. Out of the shadows emerged a massive creature, its eyes glowing, red in the darkness. It was a giant stone guardian, much like the statue in the clearing. Its body was made of rock, and it moved with slow, deliberate steps. Leo could feel the ground shaking beneath his feet as the creature approached. Leo's instincts told him to run, but he knew there was no way out. The guardian blocked the only exit, and the path behind him was too narrow to escape. Taking a deep breath, Leo stood his ground. The guardian stopped just a few feet in front of Leo. It loomed over him, its eyes burning with an ancient fire. Then, in a deep, gravelly voice, the guardian spoke. "Only the worthy may pass," it said. "To claim the treasure, you must prove your courage." Leo swallowed hard. He had come too far to turn back now. "What must I do?" he asked, his voice trembling. The guardian pointed to a small stone pedestal at the far end of the cave. On the pedestal sat a simple wooden box, locked with a heavy or iron padlock. "Inside that box is the key to the treasure," the guardian said. "But to open it, you must face your greatest fear." Leo hesitated. His greatest fear? He wasn't even sure what that was, but he knew there was no other way to reach the treasure. With a deep breath, Leo stepped toward the pedestal. As he reached for the box, the cave around him began to change. The walls shifted, and the ground seemed to drop away beneath his feet. Suddenly, Leo found himself standing on the edge of a cliff, overlooking a vast, dark chasm. Below him, he could hear the sound of rushing water, and the air was thick with mist. Leo's heart raced. He had always been afraid of heights, and now he was standing on the very edge of a bottomless pit. His legs trembled, and he felt like he was going to fall. But he couldn't give up. The treasure was so close. With shaking hands, Leo knelt down and opened the box. Inside was a small, golden key. The moment he touched it, the world around him vanished, and he was back in the cave. The guardian stepped aside, allowing Leo to pass. "You have proven your courage," it said. "The treasure is yours to claim." Leo walked past the guardian, his heart still racing from the ordeal. He followed the path deeper into the cave, until he reached a large, open chamber. In the center of the room stood a massive stone chest covered in intricate carvings and glowing faintly in the dim door light. This was it, the treasure of Crimson Isle. With the golden key in hand, Leo approached the chest. His hands trembled as he inserted the key into the lock. The moment the key turned, the chest creaked open, revealing its contents. Inside the chest was more than Leo had ever imagined. Piles of gold, coins, sparkling jewels, and priceless artifacts filled the chest, shimmering in the light of his torch. But there was something else, something that caught Leo's eye. At the very bottom of the chest, hidden beneath the treasure, was a small, ancient scroll. Leo picked it up and unrolled it, revealing a map unlike any he had ever seen before. It was a map of the world, but with strange markings and symbols that he didn't understand. As Leo studied the map, a realization dawned on him. This treasure was not just gold and jewels. It was a clue, a key to something far greater. The map pointed to places all over the world, places that held even more secrets and mysteries. Leo's heart raced with excitement. He had found the treasure of Crimson Isle, but his adventure was far from over. Leo carefully packed the treasure and the map into his backpack, making sure to leave no trace of his discovery. The island had been generous to him, but he knew that it still held many secrets that were yet to be uncovered. As he made his way back through the cave, the guardian watched, him silently, its eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. Leo gave the creature a nod of gratitude before stepping out into the sunlight. The journey back to the boat was long and difficult, but Leo's heart was light. He had done what so many before him had failed to do. He had uncovered the lost treasure of Crimson Isle and found a new path ahead. As Leo sailed away from the island, He looked back one last time. Crimson Isle was already disappearing into the mist, its secrets hidden once more. But Leo knew that he would return one day. There were more adventures waiting for him, more mysteries to solve. And with the map in his hands, the possibilities were endless. Leo sailed away from Crimson Isle, the weight of the treasure and the mysterious map in his backpack. The ocean stretched endlessly before him, but his thoughts were already racing with the possibilities that lay ahead. The map had shown places all over the world, each marked with symbols and strange writings that Leo could barely decipher. The journey back was smooth and the weather was calm, but Leo couldn't shake the feeling of anticipation. He knew that the map was more than just a treasure guide. It was a key to something even greater. Each mark on the map was a clue, and he was determined to follow them all. As days turned into weeks, Leo decided to make a stop at a small coastal town. He needed supplies, and more importantly, he wanted to learn more about the symbols on the map. The town was quaint and bustling with activity. Leo rented a small room at a local inn and spent his days exploring the town's markets and libraries. One afternoon, while browsing through old books in the town's library, Leo came across a book on ancient symbols and languages. As he flipped over through the pages, he found symbols remarkably similar to those on his map. The book mentioned an old civilization, known for its treasure maps and hidden secrets. Excitedly, Leo copied the relevant pages and returned to his inn, eager to compare the symbols with those on his map. The book revealed that the symbols were part of an ancient language used by a long-lost civilization. According to the book, this civilization had hidden their most valuable treasures in secret locations around the world. Leo's map seemed to be a guide to these hidden places. Armed with this new knowledge, Leo studied the map carefully. The symbols on the map were not just markers. They were clues to finding ancient artifacts and uncovering more about the lost civilization. Leo decided to follow the first symbol on the map, which pointed to a location in the dense jungles of South America. After months of preparation, Leo set off to South America. He flew to a bustling city near the jungle and hired a local guide named Miguel. Miguel was an experienced explorer with extensive knowledge of the jungle. He agreed to help Leo, intrigued by the mysterious map. The journey into the jungle was challenging. The dense foliage and humid air made every step a struggle. But Leo was determined. Miguel led the way, clearing paths through the thick vegetation and pointing out important landmarks. As they ventured deeper, they encountered various obstacles. They crossed roaring rivers on makeshift bridges, navigated through treacherous swamps, and even faced off against a swarm of aggressive insects. But with each challenge, Leo grew more confident in his abilities and more excited about the adventure. One evening, while setting up camp, Miguel noticed something unusual. Part 1 ends here. What ancient mystery is hidden in the next location on Leo's map? What hidden dangers await him as he follows the mysterious symbols? To find out, click the next video here or follow the link in the description.